Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. Hey, folks, the holidays are coming. Get your Tell-a-Friend t-shirt, shop.bleav.com. Make a great gift for your buddies. Carl, we got Washington. It's the legacy weekend. They're going to be wearing the cool uniforms of your era. Does it get any better than doing it against Washington? I know it was fun when they did it earlier this season, but the uniforms against Washington are the real ticket because that really harkens back some memories.
No, it does, and I get goosebumps thinking about it because of all the symbolism of this game, this point in the season. Both teams are playing for something, and the era of football when those games meant something, those uniforms were part of defining, or it had a formative impact on, how fans saw Giants football and how Giants football, the phrase Giants football has come to exist. And so there's so many special things and meaningful things about the legacy weekend this weekend because it's Washington, because these were meaningful games. Those uniforms meant a lot in those games. And so I am just thrilled and I get goosebumps thinking about, this time of year and wearing those uniforms. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be great. And the Giants have to stop a trend, because they got swept by Washington last year. And that was the first time that Washington swept the Giants since 2011. That's right, folks. The year that the Giants won Super Bowl 46, I had forgotten all about this. They actually got swept by Washington that year. But look, this is a make or break time. It's almost like the playoffs are kind of starting right now, Carl, in the sense that you play Washington, Philadelphia, Washington over the next 3 weeks. And when you take a look at the landscape of this division, the last thing you want to do is start dropping division games to a team that you're going to be competing for a playoff spot with. So first order of business is win this game at home, and then you move forward to Philadelphia.
Yeah, you can't win the season in one game. They just have to focus on this one, then go to the next one. It's okay to talk about what's in front of them. They've earned that. So I don't think it's taboo for a coach to say, look, you're playing for something. These games are meaningful. This gives us a chance to get closer to our goal. It's not the end all be all to keep harping on playoffs. I don't think this team will be any more or less motivated knowing that they are in contention for playoffs. I think that's what they've earned. So, but fans feel comfortable. It's okay to say the word playoff now. You're looking right at it. And this is something that incentivizes this team. Go for it.
Carl, we're going to see in this game, we're going to see some of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. According to Pro Football Focus, the most pressures generated by interior defensive linemen this season, Jonathan Allen of Washington has 40. Mm-hmm. You know who's second?
Payne?
Dexter Lawrence with 36.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So, and Montez Sweat's got 24 hits on the quarterback. They're expecting to have Chase Young back, Daron Payne, Leonard Williams, which kind of leads us to this game's all about who wins the line of scrimmage, because both of these teams play the same profile. They want to run the ball and play it a certain way.
That's fitting of a game like this. This is your typical lunch pail game. And people ask, well, was Dallas your most hated rival? Was the Eagles your most hated rival? You probably hated those guys, but your most respected rival, and you knew the toughest game on your schedule for years during this legacy era of the Giants, was the Washington then called Redskins, because you matched up well, and just look at it this way. We owned the 80s. The Super Bowl went through, with the exception of Chicago one year, Washington, New York, and San Francisco. So when you could hate the other rivals, but the team that was your barometer was the Washington, then Redskins, Commanders now. And I don't think for a hated opponent, I think they hated us more than we hated them. And I found that out when I went there that miserable fucking year. But there was not a team.
People don't even remember that you were there for a year.
Yeah. As I said, miserable.
They just think Banks went from the Giants to Belichick and the Browns.
To Belichick, yeah. But that game, that was your lunch pail game. And those were, and I'm sure these players will say the same thing when you got to go against the likes of men up front with that Washington defensive front. They were men. Like, you respect the hell out of them. You was a lunch pail day. You want to go smack them in the face for sure. But they are your most respected opponent because they're going to play you tough, little no frills. And here's the funny thing about it. They don't have a quarterback that lights it up to the likes of what we saw last night. I don't even think they put Heineke in the Mac Jones category yet. But yet, his players play hard for him. They catch the balls he throws to them. He's a resourceful quarterback, and they rally around him. That's basically Washington football. I don't think outside of Joe Theismann, and, they had some good quarterbacks there, but they were never the best quarterbacks ever in the league. And
Jay Schrader, Doug Williams. I mean,
Doug took him to a Super Bowl.
Correct.
But outside of Doug and Joe Theismann, they had good players at quarterback, but they had players who could get their teams to play for them. And that's what Taylor Heineke is right now. It just seems like he sparks them, and they've got two good runners that were going to be a problem for a lot of teams. And listen, it's the NFL. They're going to be a hard out no matter how you look at it. They're not going to lay down, and you're going to have to beat them. And that's what it's what you found out. Even when they were losing with Carson Wentz, they were never an easy out.
Well, listen, I mean, Heineke's playing to a certain profile. You mentioned the two running backs, Brian Robinson, the rookie out of Alabama, and then Antonio Gibson. So they got a nice combo. And then, listen, Terry McLaurin is a very underrated player. If he played for
anybody else,
brand, a bigger brand team, people would know who he is because the guy is absolutely fantastic. He's 8th in the NFL in receiving yards. He's acrobatic. He's fast. He's a tremendous route runner. And then they have some other good receivers too. So,
and he's competitive too. McCurlin is competitive. So again, they are built. They're built for the NFC, built for the East. And look, you're going to have to respect them. It's not their record and who they are, their physical makeup. They're different. They're different, especially within the division. So you're going to have to respect what they're doing. Like you said, aside from Gibson, they've got good wide receivers. And again, the quarterback, he's not going to impress you with a lot of things. Doesn't drive the ball hard out, into the boundaries. He throws some floaters up there.
Somehow it gets there, though.
It gets there, and they catch it for him. That's the thing about it. Like, you'll look at him. If you saw the ball leave his hands and didn't know who was on the other side catching it, or the other end of that pass, you'll be like, wow, that's going out of bounds, or, well, that's going to hit the dirt. And yet the drive just continues because they play hard for him, and he's effective.
I saw this stat on Twitter from the Entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how accurate it is, but it does kind of make sense. According to this stat that's out there about drop passes, Daniel Jones, 1 out of every 16 of his passes gets dropped, according to this stat that I saw. Again, I don't know the source of all of it. But in comparison, for instance, Geno Smith, 1 out of every 44 passes gets dropped.
Right.
Derek Carr, 1 out of every 43 passes. Jalen Hurts, 1 out of every 29 passes. So
1 out of 16, that's one per drive.
Yeah,
when you think about
it's
it.
Too many drops, man. They have.
So if you're in a
way
16-play drive and well, no, it'd be more than 16 because you're not going to throw 16 plays in a row. But you get into a long drive, and you might need a key pass caught, and a guy comes up and drops it.
Well, how many times have we seen it this year?
Yeah.
A lot of big third downs. Jones is 4-1 lifetime against Washington. He's got a quarterback rating of 100. He's got some long runs against him. He's got a 49-yarder, a 46-yarder. But to me, Carl, they got to get Saquon Barkley going. Now, as of this recording, it looks like they're getting a bunch of people back for this game. And I think Daniel Bellinger, if he can go along with Evan Neal, those would be huge additions for this football team because Barkley's numbers have waned since Bellinger went out. He's a really good blocker. He can hurt you in the pass game, and it just gives them more depth at that position. So I think some reinforcements are on the way as of this recording, and I think that bodes well for the Giants if they can start getting a little healthier than what they rolled out there in Dallas.
You want Barkley to get going, but as a whole, you want the running game to get going. You want the running game to have some impact here, which means they're going to have at least 30 to 35 rushes a game just to keep this offense on track and to kind of tame that pass rush.
What else are you looking at in this game, Carl?
Uniforms.
Your uniforms?
No, I'm looking. What I'm looking at is what we saw in Dallas. Some of the good things we saw. Second level linebackers. Like I said, they had 1 in a row. I'm looking forward to seeing if they can consistently do what they did last week in their run fits. Because again, they got a very competent run game. And again, just fit where you're supposed to be. Even if you get blocked in the hole, your guys are going to make tackles. Darius Slayton, I want to continue to see him make that contribution. And that's where I'm at, man. I'm just looking forward to this game because it's a game plan game, but this is kind of an attitude game. This Washington, New York, at each state of their franchises, this is an attitude game because Washington, Rivera has Washington believing that they're in it, which they are. And Coach Dabo has his players believing that there's a lot in front of them if they can get it done. So this is going to be fun.
It is. I got an interesting little nugget that I want to share from some of my research with our viewers/listeners. But first, basketball is back. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, matchups, player info, game trends. BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, giveaways. Hey, NHL, NFL, NBA, MMA, tennis, boxing, even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join. Receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, to receive your awards. BetOnline, where the game begins. Carl, Washington, they haven't given up over 21 points in 8 straight games, but they do give up big plays. They've given up a whopping 17 pass plays of over 30 yards. Like the Giants have given up 7. Most teams are at like between 7 and 10 at this point in the year, maybe 11. They've given up 17, and they've also given up some big runs. They've given up 9 runs of over 20 yards this year. So I think there's some plays to be had. I think Kenny Golladay has to make a play at some point. They need him to make a play.
He just needs to stay available and ready to go because he's going to have to matter. The thing about Washington, though, which is similar to a lot of teams in the NFL, they have a certain area of the field where they're really good and where it counts, and that's the red zone. Their red zone defense is good. That's why you give up those plays, and they can stop you in the red zone. So this is where a guy like Darius Slayton finish. If you got a big play, finish it in the end zone. Don't finish it at the 5, because it's not going to be a cakewalk to get in the end zone from there. So you got to finish.
They're tied for 13th in red zone defense, but if you look at their red zone defense in this streak over the last 6 or 7 games, it's a lot better. Some of those numbers are stacked from earlier in the year when they weren't playing as well. And they're number 2 in the NFL in goal-to-goal defense. Teams only score touchdowns in goal-to-goal situations at 52% against them. So I think you're 100% right. Now, the Giants have done fairly well in the red zone. They're 11th so far this year. So, this is going to be a fun game. I think both these teams play to the same profile. It's going to be a little nasty. This is the 8th time in the Super Bowl era that a team will face the same opponent in back-to-back games, because Washington has a bye next week while the Giants play Philadelphia, and then they host the Giants. Have you been swept up in the OBJ news?
No. We'll all find out when we find out. I think the bigger question, and I am relatively certain that if Odell Beckham Jr. is healthy, he can help anybody. So he would be a big help to the Giants, how they work that out. I am hopeful. But the question is, when will he work out? When will teams see what that looks like? Fans get excited with the last OBJ that they've seen. And I know he's a maniac working out, but teams will do their own due diligence in that regard. And if it works out, he will be a big plus. But I'm not caught up into the hysteria.
Drama?
Yeah. Well, the hysteria. I'm not even the drama. I think he's a hell of a football player, and he will help any team. But I'm not going to be the one who jumps up and down and says, get it done, get it done. I think the teams will be smart about it and make sure that what they're signing up for, meaning in terms of his skill set, that it's
down to the cash and making
cash
the right decision. Anything else to get off your chest before we?
No, that's it.
All right, that's it. Well, just listen. It's going to be electric in that building on Sunday. You, the Giant fans that go to the games, have made it, as Carl asked you this summer, it can't be an Airbnb anymore for the other teams, and it has not been. So it's fun going to work when it's excited like that.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Yes, it is a home. Oh, I forgot the legacy game. We restocked those legacy sweaters. The red jacket, everybody's asking about the red starter jacket. So if you're going to the game, you can buy it at the Giants fan shop. If you're not going to the game, you may be poop out of luck.
Oh, man. And my dad has one of those in the closet. All right, I got to go. Coach Daboll's waiting.
Goodbye.
All right, tell a friend to tell a friend. Bleav in Giants.